Well, I just finished watching The Social Dilemma. It's the name of a show on Netflix. It is very, very intense and is full of some of the brightest leaders in digital marketing, digital tech that there have ever been across the entire spectrum of some of the biggest companies in the world. I strongly recommend it, and it actually prepped me for today's call. Hi, Adam Gower here, and welcome to the Gower Crowd podcast, syndication in the digital age at gowercrowd.com. Now, I approached my guest today, Dennis Yu of Blitzmetrics. It has to be 2 years ago when I first started the podcast on digital marketing and social media, and I had found a list of the world's most influential leaders in the space. Well, I got an email from him last week, right, saying that it was okay and he would love to join me. Just goes to show the power of social media, the power of digital communications is that just with a little bit of patience, you might just get what you want. And the same is true for your investors. Don't give up on them. It could take a while before they actually write the first check, right? Now, in my conversation with Dennis today, it took a totally different turn from The Social Dilemma on Netflix. On The Social Dilemma on Netflix paints a pretty grim view of digital media and digital marketing. But Dennis, I'm so glad to say, has a very different perspective. He is, without doubt, one of the brightest guys I've ever spoken to. And you'll hear about his background in the show today, and be prepared for a cerebral and philosophical examination of digital marketing from truly one of the world's top thought leaders, and learn how and why all this work that you are doing, expanding your digital presence online to raise capital from investors, find out today why and how it actually works, right? That's what you're going to be hearing about today. I was totally taken by surprise, actually, by the direction of our conversation today. And so I've actually included some of the pre-show chat that Dennis and I had, as it was so interesting. And it tees up the insights that he shares with us today. I didn't want you to miss it. And of course, be sure to go to the podcast page for today's episode, where there are a bunch of links to Dennis, to his companies, to the courses that he has. And you'll also find links there to the Gower Crowd newsletter. So be sure to sign up for that. I'll send you more information about some new training that we have going as well. So here he is, my incredible guest today, Dennis Yu, Blitzmetrics. Dennis, so first of all, thank you. Secondly, you went to the London School of Economics, I noticed. You were there after I was there. But what did you study?
I studied financial markets and price differences on arbitrage with excess volatility, and the difference in entrepreneurship rates in different countries independent of capital and labor and other kinds of resources. So basically, say that in certain areas, you would think based on market data and economic data that you could predict entrepreneurship rates. But the most successful people and the most successful communities grew in spite of the government funding things, in spite of natural resources, in spite of capital markets. And it really goes back to trust. And Francis Fukuyama wrote a book called Trust, and how that was a non-measurable asset, yet was the most critical asset, most critical ingredient in putting communities together.
That's fascinating. You did that you didn't do that as a bachelor's degree, did you?
No. I got my undergrad at Southern Methodist University.
Okay.
Finance.
I was thinking, that sounds pretty advanced for a bachelor's. I got my bachelor's, I got my undergraduate there at LSE in political psychology, of all things, actually. Because it was London School of Economics and Political Science.
Of course.
And it's actually played at the stuff that I was studying then is extremely relevant today as well. Particularly in digital marketing. It's actually interesting how it plays over.
I find what's very valuable now are maybe just because I'm getting older, and it sounds like you're more experienced than me, although we have about the same amount of hair. It's understanding some of the strategy behind digital platforms, and really it's an extension of our networking. And it's not about tools or programming or the latest fad from whatever pundit that you hear. And what I found in the last year in understanding the algorithms that power Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, when we understand that, then it's almost like karma, where the deals come to us, where the relationships are drawn to us because of what we put out there. Have you seen the movie Inception?
Yes.
And what is the key point for you about that movie?
The key point was the idea that there are multiple layers of the subconscious that you could just go deeper and deeper and deeper to implant ideas that then manifest in the conscious world.
And I find that it's even deeper than planting an idea. It's that if we understand who we want to reach, and they already are predisposed to something that we would like them to believe, we can elevate that all the way up into a relationship where they already want to do business with us. And that sounds esoteric, and certainly you understand political psychology all the way to a PhD, and I didn't go as far as you did, even though I'd love that you and I both went to the LSE, which means we are mathematically inclined to be able to solve proofs of things that we know are true but have to algebraically solve down. And here it's this: the algorithm today is a singular formula that will decide what we need to see and what we do. It's constantly making recommendations. It's technically a collaborative filter, so that when you are on Spotify and you're listening to songs, it's making pretty good recommendations of what you might like, right? When you are on Netflix and you watch a show, Adam Gower likes this, here are other shows you might like. When you're on Amazon, I just bought that missing cable that I couldn't find on Amazon. It's coming tomorrow morning. When I bought that, then on the side it said, you might also like these other items. When you're on Facebook and you're scrolling through the newsfeed, based on your engagement and who you are and what you've liked and whatnot, and other things that they know about you, they know everything about you. They're making recommendations that you find interesting to make it stickier for you to stay longer, to serve more ads and buy more products and so forth, right? And would we agree that it's the same thing across every one of these sites that are free to use, but they monetize based on your activity?
Right.
Then we realized when we go one level deeper into the matrix or into Inception, that it's actually the same algorithm that drives all of them. And that's when we realize that when you take the red pill, that it doesn't really matter whether you're a fan of Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, or every day there's another digital marketing property. Now everyone's talking about TikTok. You know, TikTok is the same algorithm. Based on your engagement and what's hot in the community, they're going to show you more of that to keep you there longer, to be able to show ads, because they don't monetize based on subscription, they monetize based on your behavior. When we understand that, several things become true. One is that we need to feed the algorithm the things that we want, because the algorithm is a multiplier. The algorithm's neither good nor evil. Some people love to talk about how AI is going to be evil. It's not. It just wants to give you more of what you want. So if we know that there's more information out there than we could ever possibly consume exponentially because of the rate of production, the population that's out there, there's more people than we could possibly talk to. There's more content we could possibly create. There's more tools and social networks than we could possibly ever be on, which creates FOMO. Then we know that the more stuff there is out there, the stronger the filter power has to be of the algorithm to serve us what we want, right? Therefore, if you're a real estate investor and you're looking for deals, you're looking for other people to be part of your syndication, you're looking to find properties in LoopNet, you're looking to speak at an association, you're looking at the National Real Estate Forum, right? Then if you are not feeding the algorithm, and I'm going to say the algorithm with a capital A, kind of like adultery, Hester Prynne. If you're not feeding the algorithm who you are and what you care about, the algorithm cannot make recommendations for you. Thus, I believe that if you are willing to accept that we are in a matrix and this thing here knows what you're doing, it doesn't matter whether the phone is on or off. It doesn't matter whether you're on, well, I don't like Facebook and Instagram, I'd rather be on Twitter. Or it's the same algorithm. The point is, if we give Google and Facebook and Apple and these other guys what they want, take your tinfoil hat off, then it will give us what we want. It will give us relationships and deals. And I know that's kind of like a karmic secret manifesting. If you just believe in the energy crystals that, the world will feed you back, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the mechanics of the algorithm are, it's looking for the signals of what you're putting out there. A lot of people talk about SEO, and maybe you've interviewed people about how do you get better rankings on Google based on things that you do. It's the same thing. You've got to put content out there reflecting who you are, which increases your credibility in things that you care about, in where you live, and the deals that you've already done, which drives the right people, builds social proof, makes it easier for people to reach out to you to do deals, which is different than you reaching out to them. It's a different level of credibility. You're able to close more deals. People are, banks are more likely to finance you, even though they're looking at certain criteria, the relationships we know you can't discount. It builds and amplifies the relationships that you have. So if you're a successful real estate developer or financier and you have a track record, then that is going to help you because there's content and targeting. In other words, there are things that you've done and there are people that you have done it with that allow the system to figure out other people that are like you. Like if you're on LinkedIn, it'll say, oh, people who looked at Adam Gower also looked at these 3 other people. And if you produce a lot of content that's topically relevant, LinkedIn, for example, will show you other content from other people that you probably should connect with. That's the exact same model on every single network that has more information than you could possibly consume. That's how the algorithm prioritizes search results, prioritizes what you see as you scroll through Twitter, prioritizes what you see in any algorithmically driven network. What you see on eBay or when you're on Amazon looking at products, it's the same algorithm. And I think Adam and everyone else here, once you understand that, you're no longer distracted by the tools and the technology and the feigned complexity of digital marketing. You'll have people like me. I'm an engineer, right? I built the analytics at Yahoo 20 years ago. After I went to LSE, I did some stuff at American Airlines, and then I went to Yahoo as a search engine. And you might think, look at all this training. These are all things I need to try to understand. But really, in most cases, it's the mechanic trying to BS you about the complexity of something that you don't understand, taking advantage of your ignorance. For us to be successful increasingly in the modern world, to get the deals that we want, to be able to raise money, to build our brand, to make it so that people are aware of us and our company, you really just need to know that you want to amplify the connections that you already know. You want to amplify the deals that you already have. You're sharing your expertise, which then allows the system to find, the algorithm is so smart, the algorithm will find people in your network that you don't know. And that's the thing, Adam, I want everyone to understand before they jump into the latest fad because they've read an article about how this one tool is amazing.
All right, so you've said a lot. That's absolutely fascinating. I want to just turn it around a little bit because one of your expertise is, I know you've got a lot. One of them particularly is advertising, right?
Yeah.
How to use the algorithm and the data that's available in order to effectively sell your product. So just pause for a moment on that.
All right.
And turn around what you were talking about in terms of give the algorithm information so it can give you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But coming from a political psychology background,
yes,
right, so very different from your background, isn't there also, particularly when you're talking about advertising and the power of being able to communicate with people to get them to do something you want them to do, which is to buy your stuff. Isn't that really ultimately what the algorithm is about? Is not giving us what we want, but giving us what they want with a capital T.
Well, you could go into a Black Mirror type situation where all those shows have the same theme of the crowd in sociology, because of what happens at the group level affects behavior at the individual level. And you could be cynical and say advertising, whether it's through someone like Facebook, because we think Mark Zuckerberg is evil, or Google, where now they're evil too, they're just trying to get your money. And it's the things that the advertisers want because it is these are all publicly traded companies that have shareholders. Like, I get that argument. However, there is an enlightened capitalism angle here, because we are here, we collectively, as in the entire ecosystem, are here to build relationships over time. So if a YouTube or a Facebook or a Google, or YouTube is part of Google and Instagram is part of Facebook, like it's Coke and Pepsi, okay? It's a Google. Right. Let's just be clear. That's 80% of advertising in the Western economies is Google and Facebook. And so they could do things that are manipulative, but it is a short-term play. If we believe in game theory, which is relationships staged over many, like if you burn that person, you are foregoing all of the future stage earnings and relationship moments that you could have. So they actually have an incentive not to do that. I've had lunch with Mark Zuckerberg, and we've discussed this very topic. As you may know, I was a big spammer on the internet 12 years ago or so, and he was not happy with me. Those ads you saw, that who has a crush on you and what's your IQ, like a lot of those were run through our ad server. So I know a little something about this topic, okay? I can speak authoritatively. I can authoritatively talk about this topic. He told me that he believed that advertising done properly was not an interruption that was necessary to be able to fund this environment that the users get for free. See, people who believe that say that advertising is a tax you pay to be able to use a platform. That's what Jeff Bezos said. Or they also believe that you are either the customer or you are the product being sold, right? Which is, yeah, if you're using it for free, then you're the pig getting slaughtered at the slaughterhouse. That's funny, and that does play into what people want to believe, which is the big algorithm is nasty. In fact, if you look at this, I've got my shirt says disrupt, disobey big technology, right? Because we need to swallow the red pill and go into the matrix and defeat Agent Smith. And the idea of Black Mirror is this negative utopia where the machines are so powerful that it causes all kinds of negative things to happen because the crowd is, what's the word, vulgar, right? You know, the word vulgar, it comes from the Latin word vulgar, vulgaris, which means of the public. It doesn't mean, foul language. It means we devolve into this common denominator. So advertising now, factually, based on what actually is occurring in the last couple of years, is an amplifier. So we want to think of advertising as amplifying what we selectively want the algorithm to put forward. So we are paying the algorithm to prioritize something that we want. We want to drive a deal. We as an advertiser want people to buy our products. But everything we talked about before is absolutely true. The algorithm still seeks to give the user what they want because these systems monetize by advertising, not by a monthly membership fee. So content that's working well, it's engaging, people are staying on the platform, they're not having negative feedback, is good for the ecosystem because those people will continue to stay on Facebook, will continue to use Google as their search engine, will continue to, if they have a bad experience, whether it's from an advertiser or not. An advertisement, we want to think of, this is going to change everyone's minds, even people who think they're professionals. Advertising is paying for delivery. It's social postage. Now, what's inside the box doesn't have to be something disgusting. But oftentimes when people say advertising, it assumes that they're merging and confusing the vehicle as well as what is being delivered. So I think of advertising as a postage stamp. So I'm putting, you go to the post office and whatever it costs to mail the package, that's what we're paying. So if we decouple the message and the delivery fee, then we realize advertising is an amplifier of the things that we already are putting out there. And if we are not performing well organically, then why would you think that advertising is going to improve that? So if your car is already broken, stepping on the gas harder, if the e-brake is on, stepping on the gas harder doesn't work. If something is working organically, we can use advertising to throw fuel on the fire, which is to amplify a winner. So that is a key distinction in advertising because a lot of people think, well, it's a pay-to-play game, and Zuckerberg and Google and these guys, they won't give me any organic distribution. I rank on nothing because they force everyone through ads. That's a common preconception, right? It is incorrect. Think of it this way: if it is working well, I want to use ads to get more out of it. And if it's not working well, putting ads on it is, if I send out a product that people don't like, do you think if I send it out to 10 times more people, I'll have 10 times more happy customers? Not really. So building relationships, so all the people I know in real estate, which is 1% of the people that the ones who are really successful in doing large deals, they all are relationship builders first. They certainly have the competency in all the vernacular and doing deals and contracts, but they understand how to build those relationships. So when they advertise, they get a multiplier.
So how does that work in the digital realm? You've talked about advertising as coming after organic. So what does one do? Like, describe that to me, that what does organic being, developing relationships organically? How
Well,
does that
the things that you're
exist?
doing, forget about the internet, okay? The people that you are having lunch with, the people that you are on the phone with, the people that you know that you've sat down across the table and done several deals with, and you've syndicated together, and you know you're the lead and I'm the lead on the next one. We go in together on this commercial office building, or we want to build a mall together, or whatever it is, right? Or hard money lending, that's our area. You couldn't finish it, now we need, you know, we're 80% done and the hotel is stuck, or you know, whatever. Like all the different situations. Forget about the internet. You have expertise and you have relationships. That's content, that's targeting. Inventory your expertise. Most people never do this. Inventory your relationships. Look, I know all people are valuable, but some relationships are more valuable economically than others, okay? Inventory both of those. That's 2 columns. Then figure out where the intersections of those are. That helps you prioritize where you want to put your time. So I imagine you might have quarterly planning or annual planning with your team to figure out what deals you want to go after and how much money you got to raise and who are your lenders and how are you going to syndicate. And I'm making stuff up. I have no idea what you do.
You
Right?
feel like straight down the fairway, though, doing very well.
And those are all based on relationships and knowledge. So if you put this, here's one stupidly simple thing that I see real estate investors and even just business owners in general missing. If you have knowledge, turn the phone on and record it in 1-minute snippets. I'll literally take a Post-it note. And I love little Post-it notes because you can't put 50 things. You can just write maybe 10 things. And these are topics that I know something about. Or maybe I want to elevate, edify someone in my network who's done something great. I want to talk about a customer. I want to talk about a particular person. I want to talk about someone in my community that has nothing to do with my particular field. It could be a pastor. It could be my chiropractor. It could be a friend that just sent me a cup. It could be this other friend, Jim, who runs Internet Marketing Ninjas, and he sent me a cup, and I just love seeing the, you know, I got this thing in the mail. And I'm just exposing who I am as a person, exposing my relationships. Of course, you decide which things you're comfortable exposing on the internet. And when I make that content, I then cross-post it to Google, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, blog, and I have a virtual assistant do that for $3 an hour full-time, $500 a month full-time. I have someone doing all this for me. So I don't have to mess around with social media. I don't have time to be on social media. I don't think you do either. Social media, you know, all our preconceptions about social media, I agree with. I don't spend much time on social media, but I am producing content.
Isn't that incredible? That's now what you just described is the automation of relationships. You're automating that process, right?
Well, the way you say it sounds like I'm.
It doesn't sound good, but
what I am is I'm focusing my effort and my time on building relationships by first sharing my content, interviewing and edifying my network. So I was in Pitbull, or I was in Miami a couple of weeks ago with Pitbull, who's a well-known entertainer, billions of views, and we were talking about a course that we're building together to help people from disadvantaged communities become entrepreneurs and learn how to write their first songs or start a business, be a digital agency. And we were talking about what we're talking about here, you and I, Adam. And I said, technology is neither good nor bad. It is an amplifier. It is the machine. And it's like fire. And fire can be used to burn somebody or to cook a delicious steak. I'm sorry if you're a vegetarian or anyone who doesn't want to eat meat. That's the analogy I like to use. And he said, yeah, it's like fire, man. Fire is like neither good nor bad. Technology is like fire. All the tools are fire. All the social networks are like fire. And I said, yes, that's exactly it. And thus most people make the mistake thinking digital marketing is about technology and programming and tools. It's amplifying what you already have. If you're brand new in real estate crowdfunding and you don't have a network, you don't have a history of deals that you don't have people who vouch for you, then you're going to find that digital marketing didn't work. It was a scam. I tried digital marketing, it didn't work. If you're successful already and you're applying these techniques, you're sharing your knowledge, you're using advertising to amplify it out there for $1 a day. You have a virtual assistant who is out there pushing your content out there because you don't have time to post all this stuff and be on the social networks. That's for children, right? Someone else is just, they're the postal worker, if you will, right? You're buying the stamp, but you're paying for the distribution too. Then you're going to say, wow, this is amazing. I'm getting more deals. I'm getting better partners. the banks like me more. I'm getting to speak at conferences. My brand is growing. This is, so-and-so is introducing me to so-and-so. I keep getting more and more referrals. This is working really, really well. So you hear people that have completely disjoint experiences. So the question is, why is it that these people are having a great experience with digital marketing, saying it's building their brand and all that, and then these people are like, yeah, I tried it and it didn't work. It was a waste of time. Why is it? It's because their starting point, what they're putting into the machine is flawed, and or they're not using the machine properly. So the machine doesn't hate. The machine isn't a discriminator. It doesn't like hate black people or favor people. I think the machine is the machine. If we take the ingredients of who we are, content and targeting, our knowledge and deal flow and our relationships, those little, and 1 minute videos, by the way, that's the ingredient. So we feed the machine 1 minute videos of combinations of what we know and who our relationships are, usually just edifying other people. Like if you just literally just edify other people, then they're more likely to see it, they share it, it builds your network. Now you've created inception because their network. So when you honor someone else, like when this podcast episodes go out, when it goes out, I'm going to take that link and I'm going to share it and tell everybody it was such an honor to be with Adam Gout and to be able to teach other people in real estate investing how to use digital marketing the right way when they understand that the machine is here to amplify what you have and how do we use the machine the right way. I'll share that. So my audience is, I'm edifying you so that my audience knows who you are. And in my audience, there are real estate developers among all the other people in my network. Then you share this and you say, hey, if you're in a national real estate, developer forum, then this is something that you need to hear from my buddy Dennis Yu. Now you're edifying me. And we bring that connection together. Is that going to drive direct deals? Probably not, but it certainly creates inception because now people in my network who otherwise wouldn't know who you are, they realize that we have a relationship and vice versa. Then our information is more trusted. And that first touch creates an initial level of awareness, which makes it easier to progress further. Right.
So there is a competitive advantage being able to communicate, right? So you've given two examples. You've got somebody with no experience in real estate. And I just gave a slightly different example, but somebody that has no experience in real estate might have excellent communication skills and actually be quite effective at gaining traction online, at amplifying that message in order to draw people in.
Right.
And yet you also have on the flip side, you have people who are supremely expert at commercial real estate development, but for whom what you're talking about now is extremely interesting and compelling, but who have zero clue how to step into the matrix, if you like.
Right.
So how do you balance these? How does somebody who is listening that thinks, yes, I get it, sounds fascinating, but where record on my phone? Like where's the button? I don't see a button on it.
Yeah, the big red circle. And every one of these networks has it. So I'm going to show you two levels of inception. So the first piece is that if you're not producing content, then you're not even in the game and you're not feeding the algorithm. Okay. So right now, I have a friend of mine who is in Seattle and he's filming a set of chiropractors. And I told him last night, I said, you can read this here, get BTS, which means behind the scenes footage of how you're shooting and interviewing these other people so that we can teach other people who want to learn how to film exactly what you're doing. So it's one thing to be able to film and interview the subject and produce the video and edit it and all the technical aspects of being a videographer. It's another thing where you say, if you're a videographer, here's how you go about doing it successfully because we've done it many times. Or if you're the customer and you want to hire a videographer to be able to film you because you're afraid of cameras and all this kind of stuff, here's what you want them to do so that when you pay them, you know, this is the right checklist. This is how much it should cost. This is how much, otherwise you don't know. Someone says 10 grand, $2,000, you have no idea. Here's what it should take. Here's the checklist, right? And that way, whether or not they hire Tristan, now Tristan does this for chiropractors. So a chiropractor could decide to hire him to create his digital marketing or her digital marketing. But if they don't, they could just as easily go through the whole checklist, which is why we turn around and publish this. So we have all these courses on how do you use your cell phone to make a video? How do you edit professional video? How do you run video and turn them into ads on LinkedIn to drive leads? How do you put out a podcast and have a lead magnet? How do you sell a course? How do you have people fill out a form to book a 15-minute call with you? You know, all of these things. So the first step is just publishing what you have so that they could do it. Now the second, which is great, because now it's just thought leadership. You're just providing transparent value. You're not trying to sell them on anything. The second piece is, if you're new in the industry and you feel that you don't have the expertise to speak authoritatively on commercial real estate, then who might you want to interview? And you make a list of these people. Those people probably don't, like you said, they're experts, but they probably don't know how to do the video thing. Or maybe they've been on TV, but they wouldn't know how to do it themselves. Or Zoom is kind of weird. Now everyone's on Zoom. So you say, hey, Dr. Adam, I'm doing a podcast on such and such. And for this one particular issue, I know you're an expert. I would be honored to be able to interview you for 30 minutes so that you can teach my audience about X, Y, and Z. And most of the time they will say yes. Now, if you understand how the algorithm works, like we just said, and advertising is an amplifier of what's already working, then you do the interview, right? And you ask questions, just like you see Adam doing here. And then this is the mistake that everybody makes in podcasting. Like 99% of people make this one very simple mistake, and it's a fatal mistake. So there's so much effort in producing the podcast and lining up the guest and editing it and getting up into iTunes and getting reviews and writing blog posts about it and all that. And, you know, by the time you've done that, then it's on to the next guest, and you're just trying to keep up with the schedule of interviewing all these other people. But what hasn't happened is the promotion of that content. So people don't view it. Now we'll take that podcast, we'll take a snippet, like a highlight, some key point that you made, and we'll put it on the Facebook and Instagram and boost it for $1 a day. And we will target people in our community, exactly, not the entire internet, but just the people that are interested in Adam, just the people that are a part of our different forums, or how to become a better investor on Lafayette Lending, or people who are on Peer Street or LoopNet, or people who have read a certain part of the National Real Estate Forum. I might go there in the show notes, like you said, and look at the different people that are there, and I can target them exactly by their job title, exactly by the company that they work at. So I'm using Inception to share content from someone I know they trust. I collect that information. Maybe I don't have the expertise, so I interview the expert. And I'm merely arbitraging the fact that this person has expertise to the people who need to hear that. And because it comes through me as a conduit, that trust and personal brand, that audience, that authority transfers through me. And I use advertising as the conduit to do that. Now I'm at a level 2 Inception, because I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't have the network, but I combined the two, even though I didn't have it.
Yeah, brilliant. You know, it's funny because you and I first connected. I don't know if you remember when it was, actually. I haven't got any of the emails up. It could be 2 years ago when I emailed.
It was, yeah.
What you just described is actually exactly what I did. And that was, as I was discovering the power of digital media and the opportunity to integrate it with commercial real estate finance, I didn't know anything. When I started, like really zero. And I went through a list of the world's top influencers in digital marketing. Your name came up. I'm grateful to you for having accepted my invitation now, and then described exactly what it is that I did. And it was through that process of speaking to experts over the last few years that I've learned a reasonably decent level of, or acquired a reasonably decent level of digital marketing capability, at least a level that is better than 99% of people in my industry, because in my industry, most of that ability is at zero. So it's not really a particularly competitive world that I live in, at least in that way. But I want to ask you a question, specifically. You talked about, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
So what we do, said 99% of podcast producers just kind of chase their tail.
Yes.
Publish one of them, and then it just kind of sits there and they don't do anything with it.
Right.
You will discover, if you've not noticed yet from my website, you will discover we actually produce anywhere up to 20 pieces of content from every podcast. Incredible. And then we rotate that on social media in a similar way as you do. You have somebody in the Philippines. I have a hamster on a machine here that I feed with whatever, and it rotates it. Yeah. But what you've said that's interesting to me and actually dovetails perfectly into the next question I was going to ask you is connecting the dots between having a good amplification, having good content online that you're amplifying your presence, and connecting that organic amplification with advertising. I've never advertised the short clips. Tell me how I should do that. What's the best? I've got 3,000 pieces of content currently rotating on social. I can't spend $1 on each one every day, right? So
exactly. Well, you already answered the question. If I see what's working well organically, if my audience is big enough organically that I get a signal on which things get more engagement. Now, I might look at your content, you might look at your content, and then we might think, because we think we're experts, that this content's better than this content and this one's going to do better than that one. We are wrong. We're wrong every time. Let the algorithm tell you if you have enough audience to tell. Now, most people, they have no audience, so the algorithm doesn't provide any signal. It's just zeros all the way through. So then you do have to start to amplify. But $1 a day for 7 days to test is you're spending $7 on an experiment. That's $7 an experiment, find out. Maybe you run 10 experiments. You spent $70. Out of those 10 experiments, usually you'll get 1 or 2 winners. If you're really lucky, you'll get 3, but usually you get 1 or 2 winners. And then from there, based on those winners, why is it that this video did better than this other video or this article on this topic versus that topic? Now the algorithm won't tell you directly, but it kind of gives you a hint. And the best analytics and the best advice and recommendations come through the advertising platform and not through the organic side, because the digital networks invest in their advertising. They put all the cool little goodies inside there because that's where they want you to spend time. Let me give you an example. So I spent time with, Cole Hatter, who's a real estate investor, and I've been at his house and we've made videos together and taught courses, and he introduced me to Grant Cardone. And man, Grant Cardone, you could say whatever you want about Grant Cardone because of his lifestyle, or maybe he's brash, right? Because Grant says things intentionally to provoke you to get attention because he understands the algorithm. He's like Donald Trump. You could love or hate Donald Trump, but you cannot argue that Donald Trump and Grant Cardone are experts at manipulating the media to get more attention. So the organic side is so strong that when they run ads, it's a multiplier against something that's already very strong. I'm not making any political sort of statements. I'm just telling you mechanically this is what happened. So I like Grant Cardone because some of the things he has to say about entrepreneurship and about being a business person and about prioritizing your time. Now, do you think me, as a guy who's decent at digital marketing, or just, some random guy, could go up to Grant Cardone and say, hey, Grant, let's make a dozen videos together, right? He would probably, charge $100,000, or he'd just say no, right? But I say, hey, Grant, on my podcast, I'd like to interview you. Or I'm writing an article for such and such magazine on this topic. Can you give me a quote? Or, I'm speaking at this other conference and I want to be able to show you as an example of such and such, which piece of content should I provide? Or can you make a 1-minute video on this particular topic that I'm going to play in front of this audience? And when I told him, hey, I have an audience of 100,000 people that follow me. I just need a 1-minute video on this particular topic. He made 12 videos for me for free. And then what I did was I took his videos and I boosted them for $1 a day. And some of them got 100,000 views. Some got 20,000 views. They got a lot of engagement. I even had Grant make a video on how to make a 1-minute video. So I've made videos on how, here's the 4 steps, but here's the key phrases you can say to start out a 1-minute video. I remember when this and this happened to me. Or one thing that really pisses me off is when people say, or, there's all these different ways, these formulas to make a 1-minute video. But instead of me teaching you that, because it might be like, who's this, semi-bald Asian guy? But instead they see Grant Cardone say, hey, my friend Dennis wanted me to tell you about how to make a good 1-minute video. What you need to do is this, this, and this. And then we take that video by Grant Cardone, which I can play if you want to see. We take that video by Grant Cardone, and then we target it against people who are fans of Grant Cardone. How do you think the algorithm reacts to that? I'm running $1 a day ads against Grant Cardone. What does the algorithm have to say about that?
Well, the algorithm is going to say, show it, basically.
Yeah.
No, right? If it's
people
that
high relevancy, I'm short-circuiting the algorithm.
Yeah.
So if I put out a video that I think is really good, and let's say I'm an expert. Let's say I really am, by whatever means of determining that, and I put out really good content, it's very informative, but people don't know who I am, and I have no perceived authority, then it'll just flop, because the algorithm's going to look at this and say low engagement. It's not going to punch through the noise. However, if you have someone who already has an audience, and let's say Grant Cardone, arguably he's the world's largest social media influencer, and I've got content together with he and I, then that content is already preconditioned. It's already been, it's like TSA pre-check or whatever it is, right? It gets to go through the line for free, right? And it's going to automatically be amplified. So I get to ride for free on Grant Cardone. Likewise, if I'm like you and I interview someone who really is an expert, but they're not really well known because they're not going to promote their brand, or maybe they're a little older in social media and their phones sort of weird. So I interview them on Zoom. I take care of all the effort. I say, all you got to do is show up to the Zoom. I'll handle everything. Here's the questions I'm going to ask. It's only going to take 15 minutes of your time. And I guarantee that 10,000 people in our community are going to see this. They're going to say yes, aren't they? They're going to say yes to that booking, even if you're nobody. So then you record the video, you have it interviewed by your people. I have people in the Philippines, you have other people, but you have people that run your machine, because you're not in your machine. You're working on your machine. You own the business, but you're not in the machine. You better not be in your machine. That's not
No, exactly.
And these people are doing their part, and then they're boosting that post on Facebook and LinkedIn to that audience, to that person's audience, to the audience that you want to reach. They win because it helps them get more distribution. It builds their brand. It's like you're doing free PR for them. And you win because it builds your authority in an area where you might not have the expertise. You might not be as eloquent to speak as well as that other person. Now you win because the audience associates that authority and that trust with you because you are the one that brought that person. Now you and I thinking logically would think, yes, but the audience knows that so-and-so is the expert that you interviewed. Wrong. The psychology is that they associate you with that, like subconsciously, they associate you with that other person. Now you win.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? That's exactly how it works. Now, for somebody though sitting here thinking about, I just want to tie it back to what you were talking about in terms of identifying pieces of content that are working. That was the connection that when you started talking about Grant, the point was you want to identify something that's working in your ecosystem,
right,
and then promote that. That's the kind of that's the basic principle behind effective advertising, isn't it, Dennis?
Yeah. It's jet fuel. And it doesn't even have to be your ad. It could be something that somebody said. So I follow Ray Dalio. I don't know him personally. He founded the world's largest hedge fund. He wrote a book called Principles, which I absolutely adore. It's like a Bible to me in a way. And he'll say a quote that really strikes me. And I will share that quote. And further, there's a lot of people commenting and sharing. His posts have like 50,000 likes. So of course, I'm not going to stand out there. But then what I'll do is I'll make a 15-second video about what I think about it. I'll share it. And maybe I'll tag him once in a while, and then he'll reply on that, right? So that creates perceived authority. So it's totally okay to share someone else's content as long as you're not ripping it off or pretending it's yours, but you're honoring them. And I'll say one thing I heard Adam Gower say that really struck me was he said this. So I'm straight up giving credit. I'm making a 15-second video or a 1-minute video about that. If I have high engagement because I'm targeting appropriately or because the video is being edited the right way, then that signal's strong. I'm going to put more money on it. And then here's the thing that other people, if they get past that 99% fail thing, which we told you about, which is to organize and amplify content, then from there, if I have a winner and I put $1 a day for 7 days, why would I stop? I'm going to put $30 a day $30 for 30 days. Then I'll put $1,000 on for another month. And then I'll put $10,000 against it. I'm going to gradually step it up. I'm not going to initially say all in, I'm going to put $100,000 and pray that this one post is going to do well. That's just, some people can go to Las Vegas and win like that. That's just too risky for me. I love no risk situations. I love like guaranteed winning. So if I've got 50 posts and each of them I put $1 a day against, I might find 5 or 10 winners from there. Of those winners, I might extend them to spend another $30 to $50 each. And then of those, I might have 1 or 2 winners that I can put several $100s on. That winner there at the top, or if I have a couple winners, they run all the time. Because when it's expertise, when it's personal branding, when it's a story, when you ask somebody to recount an experience and they say, I remember when I was doing this kind of deal and here's what happened and we did it this way versus that way and here's some really cool learnings. Next time you do a deal like that, a hotel property, a shopping mall, whatever it's, commercial real estate, then here's what you need to know. That becomes evergreen content. As long as I have evergreen content and I find a winner, that's just infinity money. My buddy Tristan Parmley calls that infinity content. And most people are publishers where they're like a newspaper. Every day they have to come up with new news. There's a murder, the place is on fire, there's, here's the stock market. So don't think in the world of digital marketing, this is another big mistake, that you have to keep producing every single day. You and I, Adam, we are rock stars. Rock stars in the sense that when there's something that worked for us from years ago, we allow that to continue to run. So advertising is taking a hit that you had before organically and allowing it to continue to produce for you. Most people have an organic only mentality where they feel like, I have to do 3 tweets a day. I have to write 1 blog post a week. I have to do whatever. There are times I'll go several months and I'll write nothing. And we're still producing leads, still producing customers, still producing sales, because the things that there's content that I made, as you know, because that's how you came to me. There's content that I've made years ago, from the early days when I was at Yahoo 20 years ago. I built the analytics at Yahoo 20 years ago. That still works today because people don't understand what a search engine does and how a search engine works. So I break down the fundamentals of a search engine, the crawl, the index, and the rank, and how those work together so you get more search results. There are people who are new to search engine marketing and search engine optimization, and they're watching content or reading articles that I produced 15 years ago.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
And they're still consuming, and it's fresh to them today.
I know, it's amazing. I track consumption of all my content, and it blows me away, some of the stuff that
from years
ago.
It's
an asset. Yeah, it's
you had the performance. Yeah, if we were to go into your Google Analytics and look at your top content, I bet you your top 2 or 3 pieces were from years ago, and they keep producing for you.
Yeah, it really is incredible. And it builds. Every time you add something, it just gets bigger and bigger, and you just build up this incredible momentum. Dennis, I seriously could sit here and just actually, I can't, I want to say could talk to you, but actually I could listen to you for all day long and just prompt you with a few questions. But I really want to respect your time.
Thank you, Adam.
And so I'd like to, I would love, seriously, but please don't wait 2 years for part 2.
Yes.
Let me churn out some content from this. We create quotes. We create short videos. I'll get those pumped out and rotating. And then maybe what we could do, actually, Dennis, I'd be really interested in putting some advertising behind it, because I've never advertised. I've never advertised my raw content like this. I've only ever advertised. I've only ever used ads to send people to landing pages and spent all my time there. I've never actually promoted this kind of raw content, which actually is a really interesting idea. And in fact, one of the things,
let's test it. You be a guinea pig. So look, promoting raw content sounds unprofessional. A, it's not driving sales. B, it's not clearly polished and designed for the sale. But people trust, especially in Corona times, people trust what looks to be authentic and raw, where they're not being sold. And it seems counterintuitive that we might take the top 3 or 4 nuggets, or however many from this particular episode we have together, where we're just teaching. We're not selling anything. We're not asking them to give us an email address. We're merely sharing openly. And then that will cause more people to consume your greatest hits, which are other articles and videos and snippets and quotes that you've made over time. And if we allow the algorithm to do it the right way, which is what this whole process is about, when the algorithm has a signal of people that are resonating on a particular topic that we're talking about, let's say personal branding or digital plumbing, or how do you interview somebody, or all the different topics that we talked about, then the system can show them other content related to that. People listen to this song, they also listen to that song. People who bought this on Amazon, they also might also like to buy that. And now the algorithm is working for us. And that's when all the beautiful magic, some people call it Machiavellian stuff, works for us.
See, and so we do go full to, if we finish with Machiavelli, we have to go full cycle all the way back to where we started when I said, who's manipulating who, all right? On that note, let me ask you, if you don't mind, 3 rapid fire sign-off questions that I ask all of my guests. So the first one is somebody starting out online, so a real estate developer who's, ancient like me, who's listening to this and likes what he hears but doesn't know where to start. What would be the most important thing they should keep in mind to get going?
Get onto LinkedIn and write 3 recommendations for people who have done something good for you or customers that you've worked with. And just do 3 of those every week and watch what happens to your network. Watch what happens with reciprocation.
I'm going to do that as well.
Try it.
I will do. It's really
Don't
good idea.
just try it. How long does it take you to do that?
Not long.
Just do it and watch what happens.
All right. Very cool. I love that. Second, What's been the hardest lesson you've learned online?
It's to be able to trust in other people when I would want to do it myself. It's to delegate and let go and build checklists and processes, because I think I'm right, but I'm usually wrong, and times change from when I used to do it. And that's something called Dunning-Kruger, when you overestimate your own capabilities. And people who've been in the industry a long time will tend to think that they're God. They're doctors of some sort. And I've struggled with that at points. And that's why I love mentorship, to be able to learn from other people. Like I told you, Tristan Parmley, he's 24. I'm 20 years older than he is, but I'm learning so much about digital marketing, even though I've been in the space for almost 30 years. And being able to reassess long-held assumptions is so key, so that we can always keep growing and have that childlike, youthful optimism and be malleable.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the things that we didn't talk about was your work with kids, teaching kids. And
I learned from them more than they learned from me.
I know, it's fascinating. So the reason that I mentioned it, it was something that's way, way down on the list of questions I had for you, about 4 pages down. But not only because I've got so many questions to ask you, but the reason I mentioned it is that, so I've been teaching real estate investment and finance at university, and I love to tell my 20-year-old students, my 18, 19-year-old students, I tell them, listen, I've got 30 years advanced experience and knowledge about real estate over you. You're only 18, you've got 20 years more experience than I do in digital media and living the life online, so you do. I've learned everything from my students. It's really, my entire life changed when I started listening. Seriously, it's how my life changed. Listening to pitches for startups from students. They were speaking a language, Dennis, I did not understand. It was the language of digital marketing, and it was fascinating. It was a new language. Last question. What are your personal daily habits that keep you successful online?
One is gratitude. I start in the morning with gratitude on the people that I'm grateful for, the things that I have, and everything I've ever had has been because someone's opened a door for me or done something they didn't have to. I had a mentor who was the CEO of American Airlines, and he opened so many doors I didn't deserve. Of course, I had to work hard, but it was all about mentorship. And by teaching other people about having gratitude, about the importance of mentorship, which is an aspect of gratitude, I've seen people's lives change. And that's shifting from a scarcity mentality where there's not enough deals, not enough money, and zero-sum game, into an abundance mentality. And even though that might sound like a Tony Robbins-ish kind of personal development sort of thing, I find it to be tangibly powerful.
Dennis, just an amazing conversation. You took me by surprise. I shouldn't have been, but I'm really utterly thrilled. Thanks so very much for accepting my invitation to join me today.
Learning from an expert like you, it's such an honor to spend time with you.
That was Dennis Yu of Blitzmetrics, my fascinating guest today. This left me with a lot of food for thought. I'm sure it has you too. Go to gowercrowd.com. Check out the podcast page where I've included a bunch of links to Dennis, to the courses that he has, and to his website and all the amazing things that he does, as well as, of course, please be sure to sign up for my newsletter, as we have a bunch of new training that's coming out. I want to be sure that you get it as soon as it's ready. It's not quite ready. We are in production now. So go ahead, sign up for the newsletter there at gowercrowd.com, and you'll be among the first to know. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Dennis Yu of Blitzmetrics, for your time with me today. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward very much indeed to staying in touch. That's all for this episode. I'll see you next time. And in the meantime, stay well. And for now, this is Dr. Adam Gower signing off.